excited to be working in Kurdistan, and this is a great project, and I'm hoping we can continue for a couple more seasons to really understand Kurd Kabristan's place in Mesopotamian history. So we've been working in trench 5143, 3038 for a month now, and we were very fortunate on our first day to come across this beautiful baked brick feature. It's baked brick stones with a basin that's associated with it. So that's our first phase of the late Bronze Age. And now we have 2 more phases at least of walls. You can see in the trench there's about 5 different walls of different occupation layers. We've found some artifacts associated with textile production. So maybe that's what we have going on here. And now we're working on this really large Middle Bronze Age wall that takes up almost half of the trench. It's 6.5 meters long right now. And we're hoping that we're coming down on the Middle Bronze occupation layer around 1800 to 2000 BC.
In Kurdistan and in the Middle East in general, there are thousands, maybe millions, of archaeological sites that take the form of hills. This is because they built architecture of mud brick, architecture of mud, and the mud architecture doesn't last that long, and after it sort of falls into ruin, then they level the area and they build a new structure above that, and then that one falls into ruin and there's a new structure above that. So the entire community gets higher and higher through time. So that's why you have all these hills that are actually the remains of human habitation. So each one is a kind of treasure of information about the people who lived in the region, and what was their culture like, and what was their way of life like, and what were the problems that they faced. So all of these hills, they contain, to me, priceless information about the past, and about the history of Kurdistan, and the history of the Near East in general. You can learn about the birth of cities, the birth of civilization, the early years of civilization. I mean, many different historical issues that are extremely important. There's so much information that's contained in these sites. So it's very important to be aware of that and to protect them, because they're in danger. There's a lot of development going on, and people don't know what they are, or they're not that concerned. And once you lose them, they're gone forever. They're not replaceable. So I think it's very important to be aware of what these hills are and how important they are to understanding the history, the culture of the region.
So I'm mostly an art historian, and I focus on late Bronze Age interconnections between Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Levant. So I was very fortunate when Glenn asked if I wanted to come, because I've never got to work in Kurdistan, Mesopotamia, and I'm interested in interconnections with elite and non-elite rulers. So we joke that this is our palace here, and we're going to find tablets for me for my dissertation. But I really like to work a little bit everywhere. Because I'm an art historian, I don't just focus on one time period and one geographic place. I like to go everywhere to experience the archaeology and see the differences, because when you feel it in the ground and you see what's coming out of the earth, you have a different appreciation for it, and it's easier to put things in context, short of like talking to the people who lived here thousands of years ago. So up here we have what we're calling a baked brick feature. You can see we have 40-centimeter baked bricks as a surface, and they're covered in plaster. And they're associated with the drain system that's going down here into the section. So there would have been water flowing through here. And then we have this beautiful basin that's about 1/2 meter deep that is lined with baked bricks and bitumen so that it would have been pretty water resistant. So that's our first phase in this trench. Our second phase has to do with these walls. There's one wall here that likely went all the way to the other side of the trench, but the people who built the basin cut into these walls, so they're no longer preserved. And you can usually see that in the sections right here.
So we're excavating inside this building in a room here. So here's one of the walls. You see the plaster, the mud plaster of the building, of the wall. And here's another wall over here. And we want to go down to the floor, but as we're excavating, we see all this burned material, which is evidence of the disaster that occurred at the site around 1800 BC or so. And if we're looking for evidence that this is Kabra, that could be a useful bit of information. So we have maybe 50 centimeters more to go before we hit the floor, and then we'll see what's on the floor. And it would be nice if there were some artifacts or something on the floor to help us understand the function of this building. So in this room, we have reached the floor. And here it is, and it's made up of baked bricks. So it's a kind of fancy surface, maybe to, if there's like water that was being used in here, it would protect it from it. But so you see it's this large room with a nice floor, and we're continuing to see what's inside this building.